You're listening to Viking Radio, coming to you from Dream Street Studios at Del Mar College.
Hello, I'm your host, Dr. Natalie Chapa. And with us today, we have the Chris Adler of Corpus Christi. She doesn't need a whole lot of intro.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I have spent my life promoting Del Mar College because I actually feel like that I have, because it's so important to me. Always thinking that if how can anybody stay 6 years in a position like this? And so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking that at the end of 6 years, I was so devoted, and it meant so much to me, and I saw how much it meant to the community that it's been the rest. That's all I do is talk about Del Mar College.
So you were a Del Mar regent for 11 years? Okay, that's a long, and when people hear 6 years, I think that turns people off.
Well,
when they think about running, because this is an elected position.
It is an elected. It's a lot of work. A lot of people really are interested in education, and at the time, I had been on the school board, and I was there for 4 years, and so then I thought, well, I love being on the school board because I was a school teacher by profession. And I love that so much, and I love education. And I went to school. I was, first of all, in that period in there, I was at the Jewish Community Center as their director of school for a couple of years.
I didn't know that. Okay.
For a couple of years. And it was when Matt was little, and so I took him to school, and we stayed there. And anyway, my leadership Corpus Christi class, I got turned on about being a servant in the community.
What class were you for Leadership Corpus Christi?
16, the best class
16.
ever. But I had a wonderful class. Carol Scott was in my class, and Trey McCampbell, and Raymond Janak, and I had a Brent Chesney, and I had a really good class, and we all were so bonded and got together and stayed, and we're still good friends, all of us.
That is a powerful group.
That was a powerful group, and I remember we did the ropes course.
The ropes course.
Oh my God, I was the first one that stood up on top of that pole.
Did you do that? I did too. I've never done anything as scary.
I could never do it now. I would kill myself. But I would fall off there. I would. But
well, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? You get up there the first time not realizing how,
You know, that reminds me, or do you want me just to talk a little bit? Is that okay?
Go for it, yeah.
That reminds me of you don't know what you don't know. And one of the people that was on the board with me at Del Mar was a girl named Beverly. And she was just a very, very good friend. And she was someone that I'd never met before until we got on the board. And that was what we told each other. You don't know what you don't know.
It's true.
And it's so true. I mean, there were some things they were always going on in different places and so forth. And it's not like you know everything. So I would tell her, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. And that is so significant because you think everything's going just great, and sure enough, it's not always going just great.
And then the next thing you know, you're jumping off of a telephone pole over a disc, right? Or was a fly?
That was wonderful, though. But when I decided I was going to run for school board, I announced it at my leadership Corpus Christi class, and they all became my chairman and committee members, and my committee that worked on my election, and they all helped.
Wow. It amazes me how many leadership Corpus Christi people are just spread out throughout the city. All generations, all colors, from different parts. It's really cool to see.
Right. It doesn't matter. And it's really grown from it's just, I think it's just grown so much, and they are so involved in all parts of the community. But I think most of the people that I was with here at Del Mar were on Leadership Corpus Christi. And so I'm promoting that also. And anyway, they came to work for me. And so then after I finally got onto the school board, and I kind of finished there and came over to Del Mar. And I thought 6 years is too long. Well, I wouldn't quit at the end of 6 years, so I ran again.
Nice.
And I'm just very attached to it. So many changes because it was a whole different school then. Today, you all are so different. And so you've done such a great job with it. And of course, I think Mark Escamilla's done a great job, but he's been a leader of all of you all.
He has been. And so let's talk about Dr. Escamilla, our fearless leader at the college. So you and I were talking on the phone this morning, and we were talking about young leaders. And Mark came up because when he got here, he was a baby. He was, I think he was 39 when he became president of the college.
Well, but the main thing to us is we had been interviewing, and probably we had a lot of people interview for this job,
Right.
And so we got down to, we got Mark's, and I thought, oh, he looks so good, and on paper, and so forth. And I talked to him on the phone a few times, and I realized that we all realized, I'm talking about the whole group of us, that he'd never been a college president.
Right.
And usually you look for those, have they been a president? Have they been a vice president? How long have they been here and so forth? And Mark was a very young man, and he was at Tyler Junior College.
Tyler Junior College, yeah.
He was like the associate president or vice president or something, but he had a great reputation. And so we looked more and more into him and realized, of course, the reason that he wanted to come back here is because he went to college at Del Mar College.
Yes, he's an
and
alum.
I can remember him saying that, I remember how much he remembered of coming into Corpus Christi and to Del Mar College, and he always said, I always sat in the very back of the room.
Yeah.
Because he said, I always had on coveralls and I always smelled like oil. Because my daddy his dad had a garage.
That's right.
And he worked in that garage, and he came over here and took classes. And he said, I always was so embarrassed about that I might smell like oil or something like that. But we figured he would understand every person that was trying to get into Del Mar College because he had been sitting in that chair. And so we went through all the other people that applied and talked to him on the phone, and we just decided that he was made for Del Mar College.
But it was you're still taking a leap of faith.
A leap of faith is right, and so we all said, okay, he's going to be our first choice.
What was it about him? Like in terms of leadership, when you're like, this guy can do it.
But he's strong. I mean, he knew what he was talking about. He can back up what he's saying, and he feels very comfortable. He loves Del Mar College so much. And
he loves the community.
And
because he's from the community.
He is. His mother, his dad were here. They worked over on the west side. And he knew my husband, Robert, that his father did. Robert and Mark's dad
and Mr.
were friends. And they ate at Hi-Ho together. And, they were just really, really good friends. But anyway, he was just impressive. And he had a great educational background and so forth. And he already had a job in a college. He hadn't been the president. But because he had so many other outstanding qualities and qualifications that we said, okay, we're going to take this leap of faith. And so, ding, 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 we called him on the phone, and he said, hello. And I said, Mark, hi, it's Miss Adler. And I said, we just wanted to talk to you about a position of president at Del Mar College. And anyway, he took a few deep breaths, and he was kind of quiet. He said, I am so honored and so thrilled. But I said, usually the tenure of a college president is 4 years, about 4 years. And I said, we don't want you to come here and stay a year and say, oh, I think I'm going to go here. I said, we want you to tell us that you'll be here for 4 years. And he said, I promise you I'll be there 100 years if you'll keep me. And I said, you've got a job. And so...
well, he's on year 18.
Huh?
This is year 18 for him.
Oh, 18 years? Oh,
yes.
My gosh. Well, that's about 18 years ago. We were trying to figure out when I was on the board here. It'd have to be about then. What's 26 minus 18? 98? 98. How was that? So he came here and was so well received and has been on the go ever since, making great progress. But he has a great team. I'm not saying that.
I think his role as a mentor and guiding the team and the college, he has spent a lot of time with And I think this is what I'm, when we're talking to young leaders out there, it's like, what is it that makes somebody a leader? Because the college has been through some ups and some downs in the last 20 years. I mean, always, right? But it's hard. It's a hard job and it's a hard position. But the leadership stays strong.
He was always prepared, and he's worked very hard. His had strong family support, which is important to all of us, and he certainly had that. And he just had that feeling that he knew what people from Corpus Christi were, and who they were, and how to reach them, and what they need. And he was just the perfect person for us.
So we just hit our 80th anniversary here at the college. 90th, sorry. That's right, Mike. Just reminding me, 90 years at that Del Mar College has been here being a part of the community. You moved here, you and Mr. Adler moved here, correct?
Well, I moved here
you were
to
here
teach
first.
school. To teach school.
And you taught English.
I started out in 5th grade.
Okay.
And I went progressively down because my choice was 1st grade.
Okay.
And so I taught 5th grade, and then the next year I went to 4th and 3rd and 2nd. And somewhere...
But you corrected my grammar this morning. I said, you corrected my grammar this morning, and you said, remember, I was a teacher.
I was a teacher.
Because I said you and I, and you said you and me. You and me.
I can't help that. That just sticks in my head all the time whenever somebody misuses the I and the me. And so I'm close enough to you that I can say, don't do that. I try not to.
Every time I see Matt, I'm like, Matt, how's your mom? He's like, oh, she's great. I said, I just love her. She's so sweet. And he goes, She can be. Matt, I'm outing you right now. Sorry, bud.
Oh, I tell you, I'm the luckiest person in the world to stay in Corpus Christi because I'm happy to be here all the time. I have such great friends here and such a great support system in friends, but also especially in Matt and especially in Troy. Yeah. And so both my boys live here, and we love Corpus Christi. We were thrilled to death when Matt came back here. But we've all been Del Mar supporters. Robert went to Del Mar. And
I didn't know Mr. Adler went to Del Mar.
He took Spanish. He was fluent, very fluent in Spanish.
Oh, he was very fluent.
So he took it here. And then he also had a private tutor that came to the office and helped him with that. But he spoke every day. He spoke more Spanish than English. And so he was a great student. I can't remember what else. I took one class here. And actually, I dropped out of 2. But
let's talk about that. Chris Adler, instead of beauty school dropout.
I took golf, which I didn't know anything about playing golf. So a friend of mine, Carol Kins, and I played golf, and we had a great teacher. He was so cute. And he was such a nice guy. Ken Koenig, I think was his name.
Okay.
And he taught golf. And so after 2 lessons, he said, girls, you're the worst golfers I have ever taught in my life. But he said, you look good. He said, you have on the right clothes, you have on the right shoes. And he said, but you're the worst golfers. He said, maybe you should go in a different direction. And then I signed up for Spanish.
Okay.
And I just couldn't do it. I don't know. I was working at the full time and teaching. And had 2 babies
and boys
and stuff like that. So anyway, I love teaching in Corpus Christi, and it prepared me for thinking I could be on the school board and knew something about education, which I did. Yeah. And I enjoyed it all. I look at the board members. Can we talk about that a minute?
Yeah.
We had a really great group of members that were on our board of regents. And at the time, we hired like 3 different assistants, interim presidents, right? Because our president at the time resigned. So we got an interim, and then he resigned, and then we got another interim, and he resigned, and then we got Mark.
We'll be right back.
This is where it all starts, where dreams take off, and what's next becomes clear. This is Heritage Campus at Del Mar College, home to core classes in arts, sciences, and business, with upgraded facilities and faculty who provide a quality education that transfers with you wherever you're headed. This is a place of creativity, possibility, and success. A place to excel, a place to grow. This is where you belong. Learn more at dmcdreams.com.
For our audience joining us, we've got Mrs. Chris Adler here.
I want to go back to the making up a board. And we just, I ran for the office and I knew some of the people, one or two of them that were on the board, but I didn't even know several of the people that got elected at the same time that I did. But the fact is that we started out green together and not exactly knowing. So it took us a while for us all to bond. And we had a couple of retreats and we had a couple of workshops and we got to know each other better. I remember that I still work at the office, but I was at the office and we went to lunch one day and over on Morgan, and I saw this man sitting over in a booth by himself, and it was Gabe Rivas. And so Gabe was running for the board. And I thought, I think that's Gabe Rivas over there. So I went over and I said, can I sit with you? And he said, oh, yeah. And he said, I know who you are. And I said, good luck to you. I said, I think you would be a great representative of your area. And he was. He was always thinking about his area and the overall school, too. You have to think about those things. But you also have to know where you're from. We had Bill Martin was on it, and Trey McCampbell was on it, and Beverly Winters was on it. Okay. And we just had but we worked so hard together. And it was it's not that it was without controversy, because we had a couple of people on there that were very difficult. But you just have to work, you have to learn to work together. You have to learn about each other and who you are, and you have to spend a little time together, and we certainly did that.
Yeah,
and,
because the people that you're naming, you're all probably grew up very differently, look differently, different experiences.
Yeah.
And you don't get to decide who you're going to be on the board with.
That's right. They just all of a sudden, these people, one I forgot to say, I'm sorry, Haysom Dawood.
Haysom.
I'd never seen Haysom in my life, and we're now best friends. And, he's just stayed so involved. Now he's involved out at A&M Corpus Christi. But he was great, and we had such people that bought into the situation, that bought into Del Mar. They came in wanting to support it. And for the city and for the region, it wasn't just the city.
Right.
We made trips to Rockport, and we made trips.
We serve 4.5 counties. Yeah,
and for the foundation, we were all on the. I don't know if we were all on the foundation board. I forgot, but we were at one time or another. We were, but everybody was committed to doing the right thing, and it wasn't like I cared anymore what happened in my area, any more than I did what happened in Gabe's. But it was a easy to be on the board. It was hard to make some of the decisions, but we could do it together.
I think that's so important for anybody listening out there, because right now, locally, state, nationally, right, working together, politics, governance has really shifted a little bit and taken a turn. Working together, you have to find a way if you want to make the best decisions in the best interest of who you serve.
It's you're right. It is everywhere. It's not just in Corpus Christi. It's not in Austin. It's not in Washington D.C. It's different everywhere. And but you shouldn't be running if you don't have a love for whatever it is that you're going to be doing, and that you can't get along with other people. And there's sometimes you don't get along, and you have to vote separately, and you have to do things. But you've got to have a commitment and to time and energy, and it's just raise taxes and build a building and name a building, and
this is not easy. Even naming a building that can be very controversial.
Well,
and challenging.
It was, and It was very controversial.
Yeah.
And so, things that you don't even think about that you have to make decisions about, and money. I think when I first came here, I remember we were having the different buildings and grounds and stuff like that, and they said, well, the first thing we want to tell you is that we have 17 buildings that have a roofie leak, leaky roof.
Good luck.
And
Let us know how you want to fix that.
So but it's little things like that,
Yes.
or something happens in the kitchen or the bathroom or something like that. But you just you got to be committed. You got to go to work.
I think that's why it's so important to have that network of people who can give you that advice. Because you get this energy, right? You do Leadership Corpus Christi. You get something and you're like, I want to serve. I want to be on school board. I want to be on city council. And then you do it, and it's so exciting, and you make it. And then you get to a board meeting, and it's like, first thing on the agenda, we have 17 buildings with leaky roofs.
What are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do? Where are we going to find the money? What area are we going to take the money from? And so that's where I really think it's important to have that network. You are one of the things that I have learned from you. One of the many things is that, and I brag about this all the time, you are really good at meeting all sorts of people from all different ages and all different levels in life. And there's people in this community and out in the world that once they hit a certain level and they're like, I've made it, that's where they roam, with the big dogs.
Yeah.
But in order to, I think, to stay relevant and to really understand and hear what's going out there, you've got to know everybody. And you know people from all ages, all areas of town. I just introduced you to Adrian outside. Adrian's in her mid-20s, straight out of college, great asset. But you stopped and you talked to her for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that. And I knew you would do that. That's why I introduced you to her, because I wanted her to get that connection. Not a lot of people know to do that. And so I find that I follow that now.
Well, if you just say 2 words to a person like, gosh, that's a great necklace.
Yeah.
Or, I like your shirt today or something like that. If you just make a comment to people, it's just getting a feel and being in and with the people. I still go to work 2 days a week just because I want to stay there, because I want to stay active, and I want to know. I eat lunch at Hi-Ho twice a week, or twice a month, but and I also, it's getting just be with people. And the board that we had was so diverse, but we all went with each other to everything, and we did things together, and we we worked on projects together, and we went to meetings in Austin, and we went to Washington, D.C., and we begged for money, and we did what you all are doing right now. But we were doing it then also. And, we had, when I was on, we built a new campus, the Westward. No, is that it? Is that what you called it? I haven't learned all the names
The
yet.
Windward,
Windward.
and then Oso Creek is the other one.
Oso Creek is fabulous. That is so beautiful. But the one
Windward,
out, on the west side of town, all the new campus out there. It was a $12 million project, I think, and that's nothing now, but that was then. And we built a lot of buildings out there, and that was our greatest thing, I guess, while we were together.
I think it's such a great leadership lesson in that you've got to get to know each other. The people that you're going to serve with, you may not always agree with them, but getting to know them and working with them is so key. I'm starting this new question that I want to throw your way, and I'm really curious to see. So I'm going to switch gears on you here a little bit. If you could have been anything in the entire world, what would you have been?
I'll preface that by saying when I grew up in San Saba, Texas, and when I graduated from high school, my mother said, okay, Chris, here are your choices. You can be a dental assistant, you can be a secretary, or you can be a hairdresser, okay? And she gave me like 3 things like that. She never mentioned things like you can be a doctor, or I could be a lawyer. Or something, you know. And so I was somewhat limited in my thoughts, but I have thought about this a lot. I would love to have been a public servant. Besides this, I would like to have gone to Washington, D.C., and I would like to have been, I'd like to have been a congressman.
Yes.
I would love that. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and I think to me that would have been wonderful. I don't know, Augie Rivera always tried to get me to do that. He always said, you should have done that. That's what you should do. And he was such a good attorney, he still is, and I love him. But that's probably out of my realm right now, but that's what I would probably do if I could do it again. I did want to run for mayor, and I did
You did
run for mayor.
yes.
Yes, but I got beat. But I ran 7 races, and I won 6 of them, and it's a lot more fun to win than to lose, I have to tell you that. But, I was sorry
Yeah.
but that would have been fun for me.
Well, there's that Winston Churchill speech about, right, the man in the arena, being in the arena. And I think, and I look at all the things that you have done here in this city, positive changes for the good that are still being felt around here. And so you may not have been a congresswoman, but what the work that you have done here as a chair and the advocacy that you've done here, it's going to last for generations. So
That's awfully
I'm
kind.
so humbled and proud to know you and to be your friend. And so grateful for the day that I walked in to get interviewed at Del Mar College and Chris Adler was there. Thank God you're having a good day. But as we wrap up the show, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show and agreeing to come in and talk to us. Would you come back?
Of course I will.
Okay.
I've talked with Larry several times, Larry Elizondo, about being on his show, and I said, I'm not going to do that. I was back when, and you want people that are up now, but I'm so comfortable talking about Del Mar and about what they've offered us. And I will tell you that at one time, we did sanction someone. So
Yes,
it's not
I
like you
remember.
always just have to stay with the people that you had. We tried to do more, but we were, by law, only
That's right.
you can sanction a person for something. So over the 11 years I was here, we did it 2 times. So it's not always like everybody
It's true.
gets together and stays together. There are sometimes you have problems.
Sometimes you do.
And
Absolutely.
but anyway, I love Del Mar, and I don't go to a doctor's office or anywhere that I don't ask
right.
everybody, where'd you go to school? Where did you get your nursing degree? I love the
Me
nurses,
too.
the nursing degree.
Oh, I know.
And they're all from Del Mar. I mean, I love A&M too, and they have great nurses, but
absolutely.
and the fact that y'all are working together so much, and you have so many programs together, I'm happy to hear and read about all those, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Well, thank you
And I
so
love Del
much.
Mar.
Thank you.
I love
we love you
you.
too. I love you too. No, I love you. No, I love you.
Anyway,
So yes, thank you so much.
just call me.
This is Viking Radio. This show is a production of Del Mar College.